Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide online valuation and mediation services in St. Louis, Missouri. During this episode, we will discuss how an experienced mediator gets results with Elliot Herland, a mediator focused on workers' compensation cases based in Minneapolis, and he's also the vice chair of the ABA section of dispute resolution and on the membership committee.
The other thing is injecting doubt, making them feel the risk and knowing, well, if I don't settle, what am I looking at winning at trial? Because like for workers' comp, a judge doesn't say, okay, well, you get this lump sum to settle your case. No, it's going to be a 2-date type of thing. So rather than $100,000, they might go to court and get $10,000, or they might get nothing. And you have to inject the doubt without sounding like you're representing the other side. You know, that appearance of neutrality has to be there, but you have to do it in a way, you know, inject that doubt in a way that gets them to understand what position they're in and the risks that they're taking. The other thing is that a mediator needs to talk less and listen more, because you'll learn a lot in the listening. And you have to also feel comfortable with silence, because silence sometimes is extremely helpful, extremely powerful. You also have to be optimistic. I always tell people about the success other mediations have had. That gets them to buy into the idea, oh, I don't want to be in that 2%. I don't want to be in, you know, I want to be in the 98% column. And then the last thing a mediator, well, not the last thing, but the last thing I want to talk about is being mindful. I need to be aware of the situation. Of course, you read body language, like with online, you're seeing people from the waist up, and then they might be wearing jeans and socks from the waist down, right? You can't see the body language, but you can see their faces. When you're in person, you're seeing the entire body language, but body language alone, you need to also hear their tone and the words they choose, because that tells you a lot about what's going on inside, because you need to deal with what's going inside, not only the parties, but the attorneys as well. You want people to be comfortable just enough and enjoy help them not get frustrated and stay with it.
And I think there's, I mean, you've said so much. I think one of the things that I really like is the silence. People are very uncomfortable with silence, but a lot of our role as a mediator is to get people to talk so that we can understand what like most of the time when there's a communication issue, it could be because we're making assumptions of what the other party thinks. Then we're making judgments based on those assumptions. And then we're going at trying to fix it based on those false assumptions that create the judgments that come up to here. And the reality is, you know, a lot of times I'll be like, okay, I understand that you think that this is what that person is saying, but let's just clarify it. Let's first ask some clarifying, because everything does get emotional, you know? And so I'm like, okay, in that emotion, let's clarify so that we're not making assumptions about what the other person is thinking.
Right. And you know, that reminds me of something else, implicit bias. It's very important for the mediator not to judge people. If someone comes in and they have tattoos on their face, and they have a lot of piercings, and they have a sleeve of tattoos. You gotta avoid making judgments about that. Same with race, same with sex. You have to put aside all of those implicit biases, but you also have to remember that these people have implicit biases too. For instance, injured workers tend to believe that the employer and the insurance company is out to get them. Mm-hmm. And the employer and insurance company thinks that the employee is lying, that they're manipulating the system, that they're acting, and that they're just trying to take advantage of and play the system. So you got to be mindful to leave alone those implicit biases that you naturally have as a human being, and also understand that they are human beings that have implicit biases that need to be kept in mind.
Well, and I think that kind of leads into, because I completely agree, even gender, I mean, you're going to relate to people that are like you. That's just kind of how it works. But I also think that one of the things that you said that I like about mediation is that there are certain things that are black and white, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but when you say them, then it's on one party's favor or the other. And in a mediation, you can just kind of be like, listen, these are the black and white issues, and a judge is going to do A, B, or C. And I think that then, if you say that in a litigation context, it's going to be like, well, you tried to find the information that supported that position. And a lot of times it's like, no, there are certain things that are gray, right? And there are certain things that are black and white. So if we can eliminate some of the black and white issues and say, no judge is going to do that.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So now where do we go? And then the gray issues, I think you just have to, that's where you're starting to kind of try to come together, because there is no right or wrong in that, in the court, just like you said about the legal issue, a court's going to have to decide legally what that case meant or what that precedent was set before and things like that.
Exactly.